Hey everyone, so today we're going to be taking a look at Yo, how I think he should be played, and how I think he should be built. As you can see, me and Shark here have been getting into some fun, but we'll get back to him in a little bit later. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at Yo. So Yo is an all-rounder, being able to put out some decent damage, some good healing, and he's one of the best breakers in the game. He's also very simple in how he controls and plays. He has a basic 3-string combo, a heavy attack, and his strategy skill gives him access to his highest breaking skill, as well as offers him a short buff if any points are invested into his first passive here. So let's first take a look at his skills. So every character is going to have just this first setup in their first skill bar. He's got his basic combo, he's got his secondary or his heavy attack. His heavy attack here is going to grant him a little meter called the burst drive, and this is what allows him to actually expend and do his strategy attack right here. And also with the first passive it'll do a buff, but we'll look into that later. But the important thing I actually want to take a look at here, you can see counterattack is available as well here, is the details. So in the details, when I was talking about him being one of the best breakers, at least, you can see all of the break values as well as damage multipliers here, and if you really want to get like a good gauge or comparison on how good he is compared to other characters, you can just go ahead and take a look at multipliers and whatnot. But the big thing is just seeing his break value. So we can see his basic combo. It's got 3 stages, or 1 stage for each one of his attacks for the 3-string combo, and it shows the break value for each hit itself. And you can see the secondary has a break value of 200. The full combo gives you 100 break value in total. Now, I don't know if that's actually going to change depending on how many hits of each attack does, because actually his final attack in the combo does 3 hits. I don't know if that's 60 each hit. I highly doubt it, because the secondary does seem to break way better than the actual combo, but it's still good to weave in there. And then you see the counterattack, which actually has 500, so countering is huge when it comes to playing a breaker or wanting to break as fast as possible. As you can see with just his secondary, it's more than double the break value of that. And the secondary is it's a pretty long and weighty animation, but you can see here without any dupes, the burst drive that you get off of his secondary attack is going to give you a 3-second duration on his meter. And as long as the meter is up, you're going to be able to use his strategy skill, which is then going to expend that meter no matter how much time you have left. So looking at his strategy skill on a controller, that would be like B. We can see break value. This is his highest break value skill, 600. So yeah, insane. It's huge. Coupled with the counterattack, he breaks really, really fast. Other stuff here, you need tension level 2 to do his ult, and chain skill. It's just nice to know that the details show you all the information that you actually want to see for his skills there. All right, so looking at his passives here. Every character is going to have the same thing. They got the action damage here, got HP, stamina, support points, and then their unique passives. Yo's passives specifically are very big for him. His first passive, when he is under burst drive, so when you use your secondary attack, you get that little 3-second meter, increases primary attack damage multiplier and strategy skill damage multiplier. So this is just pretty much all of his attacks, just not including chain and ultimates, which I actually didn't know until reading this, so that's good to know. So yeah, just pretty much any attack besides those. And it'll, not here, but if we go to the details, I'll press X here. It'll actually show you the boosts you get for each level dumped into these things, and this is going to be applicable to every single passive that you can dump into, so very useful there. You can see 80% per level on this. That's a really big multiplier there, very insane. And his second passive, when he's under burst drive, recover party members' HP based on the damage dealt to enemies by oneself. So essentially it's party lifesteal, just based on the damage that Yo does. And this is, it's actually really, really solid. You know, as long as you're not getting hits an insane amount of times, this can dump you up pretty nicely. And each boost is going to give you 1%. So ideally, I would probably say if you do want to run him as a healer or a sub-healer, I'd say it's probably best early on that you just dump like you just dump 1 point in here, and then dump your other points wherever you end up putting them in. because although the percentage is going to add up, it is still damage dealt, and you're going to get a lot of damage just by dumping elsewhere than trying to put all of your points in here. So that'll still make him still efficient at healing, but you're not actually getting as big of a drop-off as you would think if you were to max this out instead of something else. So after some extensive testing with Shark, I have figured that action damage is probably your best bet as far as investment goes, you know, building into damage-wise. Although the multipliers are better here in the first passive, when it comes to fighting bosses mostly, you know, it's not very realistic that you're going to just be able to keep your meter up, spam your secondary attack due to how long of the commitment time it is. You're going to need to dodge, you're going to need to counter, you know, specifically with Shark, there's phases where you can't even really hit him, so overall I think it's a lot easier to play with action damage, and the boost, I can't imagine is actually that great anyway. Now, in an ideal world, just because of how big these multipliers are, you know, at max, that's a 400% increase on pretty much all of your attacks, so this is going to be better, but you know, it's really a matter of uptime, and I would say this diminishes significantly further if you don't have his third dupe, which boosts the amount of time that you have in burst drive. So this adds another 3 seconds, so 6 seconds total of actually having your meter up. But without that, it's only going to be 3 seconds, so you really only have a chance to do, I think it's like 1 full combo, maybe another basic attack or 2, and then using your strategy skill before the meter runs out entirely. So yeah, I've just found for all intents and purposes, action damage is just very good. I mean, it boosts literally everything. It boosts your basic, your strategy, it boosts your ult, it boosts your chain attack, everything. So action damage, I think, is just definitely the way to go. Now, when it comes to gear, the best control situation I found for myself was to just run gear, well, besides this piece. This piece stayed static for all my tests though, but was just to run gear that only had a gold in a single stat. So here we can see with these 2 pieces of gear, I've got attack as my gold stat, and then the rest don't really do anything for my damage, so shouldn't have much discrepancy there. But I tested crit rate, crit damage, and just pure attack. As you can see, I ended off on the attack testing, but I found that the crit rate was the slowest of all the runs. I did a couple runs with with full crit gear. I was at about 50%, not counting, you know, tensions, which weren't easy to keep up running solo anyway, but it was about 50%, and the clear times on Shark I had were about 6 to 7 minutes. With crit damage, that was cut down to around 4-ish minutes. And then with flat attack, pretty similar, but just slightly faster. My run clocking in about 20 or 30 seconds faster with pure attack over pure crit damage. So without having double gold statted gear in like literally every, you know, possible scenario, I think that this is the best control situation. So again, in order, fastest being attack, second crit damage, and then last being crit rates. You know, don't use it as a guiding rule, but at least like a decent idea of what you should aim for when it comes to actually double statting all of your stuff. You know, ideally if I had attack, crit rate, attack, crit damage, crit rate, crit damage, you know, options available in every single piece, then we would have done something like that, which I think would have been a little more accurate. And then finally, his dupes, which luckily aren't too important, you know, and it's also nice that he is a free character, so over time you're eventually going to be able to fill this out. But his first unique thing that he got out of his dupes is just boosting his his chain skill, damage multiplier, pretty much period. So just a little more out of your chain skill. Now, in most fights, you're really only going to break like probably 4-5 times tops. So it's just a nice little damage boost. Really not important though. The big one, his most important one, is definitely going to be after his third dupe, is which we went over earlier, the extra 3 seconds on your burst drive. It's just a lot more flexible while you're playing, you know, not needing to just use your secondary and then immediately jump into your burst drive, or burst drive, jump into your strategy skill. You know, you're able to weave combos in, you're able to dodge a little bit without the meter completely dying out right away. And then his last Passive is just when his ult hits, he grants the enemy a debuff that increases the break that they take by 50%. Obviously really huge for him, but again, not like game-changing or anything. It just kind of allows you a little more of a comfier fight. Alright, let's wrap up with Shark, and we'll take a look at tensions real quick. I don't want to go too in-depth with these. These are changing very, very soon, so I think that setups are going to be changing pretty drastically. But just the generic stuff, I think most people have been running on pretty much every team, which is full party. Gives you crit rates. If you get the Unity buff, it will double that. We've got maximization here. When you counterattack, you get a debuff for 10 seconds. Increases your own crit rate. Yep. Also decreases enemy tension, but just more crit rate right there. Now you run Strike Zone. Strike Zone is pretty horrible. You're just running it because it just grants you Unity, period. That's good. Doubles full party. Pairs very well. It's a 0 tension. Doesn't drain anything. Ferocity for people who want to get their free res off. Great card. Great card. I think that if you're going to run this, you're going to run this no matter what. And last, this is more a flex spot. I just threw toughness in because I forgot what I have. I had Unpredictable Bomb Girl on, which I think is a great card, but it's EX. So, you know, I don't think it ever really came up, so I just threw that off real quick. Alright, Sharky. So, it's going to be a little hard. Unfortunately, there's no like dummies to actually test on, so we're just going to have to play with Shark and try and explain at the same time, which is not going to be easy. But important points I want to bring up, in case people don't know, is if you hold down the dodge button for a little bit, you'll start running, and I use this pretty much exclusively whenever I'm like not just attacking. But going into Yo's basic string, so we've got a 3-hit combo. We've got 1, we got 1, 2. You can see 2 hits there, and we got 1, 2, and 3. And you'll see with the 3rd hit, it'll actually do 3 attacks there. So it'll hit 3 times. Very important there, because if I immediately cancel out, which you can cancel out of the basic at any point with like a dodge or a counter, if I cancel out at any point in time, I'll actually lose some hits off of that 3rd attack. And this is very important when it comes to... Oh, good job. This is very important when it comes to your secondary attack. See, when you use the secondary, we now see my burst drive meter. Now I'm able to use my strategy skill and whatnot, but if I don't actually let the full secondary play out, or at least until the meter pops up, it'll disappear. So we'll go ahead and burn it real quick. Oh man, a training dummy would be so nice right now. And here I'll cancel out before the animation finishes, and I don't have a burst drive now. So very important to know that canceling is kind of detrimental when it comes to your secondary, especially because this is what you're going to be wanting to do most of the time. So if we let it fully connect now we have our meter, and if we have investments into that first passive, our attacks are now going to do more damage. We're able to combo while we have this buff up. But if you don't have that additional 3 seconds, you can already see once we hit the half mark is when it would normally run out. So you're pretty much just going to want to, in most cases if you do not have that dupe, is get your meter up and then go into tension. Now if this was less chaotic, I'd be able to show exactly how long you would have, but you can usually fit in like 1 combo and then get off 1 strategy. So in most scenarios, we have to remember that Yo's primary role is definitely going to be his breaking. He's got insane break value, so at all points we want to make sure that we're landing counterattacks, or, you know, doing our best at least. And if we can't, it's not a big deal. He still has great values, but, you know, just as a reminder, the counter is 500 break value. And then the next comparable choice would be your strategy skill. So we can see secondary and then strategy skill, how much time that takes, and that does 600 plus 200, so about 800 break. So, you know, 500 compared to 800 for doing, you know, essentially nothing. You know, you're just helping yourself out there, is a lot of break value. Ideally with Yo, what we want to do is we want to hit a secondary, not like that, we want to hit a secondary, get our meter, and then immediately go into our strategy. And we want to repeat this pretty much as we possibly can. So this is a good point to show. Go secondary, strategy, secondary, and you can see I have no stamina. So we're going to hold and we're going to do a combo, get our stamina back up, and then go right back into it again. So our combos are mostly just here to give us an opportunity to get some stamina back. We can go ahead and spam this out some more, and we do this because this offers us the most break value, letting us do a lot more damage, have a lot more comfortability, get more ults up. And the combo is just kind of here to help string in a little more damage, give us an opportunity to breathe, and it's a lot more comfortable, you know, when we're in the middle of a hectic fight. Kind of just get this off, hold, you know, and allow us to dodge and counter a lot more easily. Let us focus a little more. And yeah, I think that's about it. Overall, if I had to leave off on a note, it's that, again, I think Yo is very just comfortable to play. He's very simple in what he does. None of his moves have too much time commitment to them, so I can very easily just do a couple attacks, realize, oh shit, and then back out. Really the only exception being his secondary, if I want to get my meter. But at least even the secondary is cancelable, so that way I can see if I can show it. It's so hard to play and talk at the same time. Alright, let's see if I can time it right. So there we go. So you can see here I did a secondary and I was able to cancel out with a dodge to try and dodge out of an attack. So even that is cancelable. The important point here though is, or important note here, if I can get my meter off, oh my god, let me hit a meter off. Trying to explain to the good people. Alright. So if we get a meter off here, if I go into my strategy, I'm here spamming dodge. It's actually bugged out now, but you can't actually cancel out of your strategy skill. So just note, if you are going to commit to a strategy skill, you are committing to it. You are not getting out of it. And I guess on that note, I just realized, never really went over this, but his basic attack just attacks where he is in place, but his secondary will actually jump a bit of a distance forward, and his strategy will actually dash him forward significantly more. So these can also be good gap closers for you, especially the strategy skill here. So I think that about wraps it up for Yo here. If you have any suggestions on things you'd like to see me cover, if you feel like I missed anything that you would have liked to have seen covered on characters, let me know. Otherwise, until then, you know, like, comment, subscribe, or don't. See ya.